So welcome, Patricia. Thank you for coming to the Steve Cheng Team podcast. Patricia, Stein, Oliva from Liberty National Title. How are you doing?
Thank you. Good. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Cool. So everyone wants to know about title. What is title?
What is title? That's a great question. What's concerning is that most people go through the process of buying a home, and after they purchase the home, they don't know what they purchased. Mm-hmm. And that's what we try to change at Liberty National Title. We try to help the consumer understand what it is so that when they finish closing on the home, they're able to tell family and friends, I purchased title, and here's the value of what title insurance brings. So title insurance ensures that you own the home free and clear. And what we do is we check the property back 40 years to make sure that there's no issues that could have been missed in the chain of title. Maybe a previous title insurer missed a lien that we're going to insure over. Maybe there was a transfer done on the property that was fraud involved. The deed was forged. So we have to thoroughly check the chain of title 40 years before we give out the insurance policy. And the consumer holds on to the policy for as long as they own the home. It ensures them that they own the home free and clear.
That's very interesting. So So I know this because I've worked with you before, but buyers can choose their own title company, right?
Yes, and that's what makes Liberty National Title different is that we're educating the buyer that they can choose their own title insurance company. So normally what happens here in the state of New York, as you know, they get represented by an attorney, and the attorney will order title insurance on the consumer's behalf. But what the consumer is missing is that relationship and that experience and really the understanding of what the policy is. They know that they're purchasing it, but they don't know why they're purchasing it. So we try to let them know from the beginning at accepted offer. We speak to them directly. We review the insurance fees, and we explain to them the value of what we're trying to establish.
Okay, very good. So how do buyers pay for this title? Like, is it at closing? Is it is it rolled into the mortgage? How does that work out?
Great question. Buyers pay for the title insurance at closing. And that's one of the biggest questions that a buyer will ask me at accepted offer. When do I pay you? Do I pay you now, or do I pay you at closing? And I explain to them that it comes through the proceeds of the sale at the closing table, and that's when the policy is given to the consumer.
Okay, cool. Can they roll the title fees into the mortgage or no?
Can they roll the title fees into the mortgage? I don't see that happening, but okay. I do see it's rolled into, I guess, the seller's concession.
Okay.
Where the closing costs are rolled in.
Okay. So we are back in this day and age, I do see seller concessions coming back, right? The market is changing. It's shifting slightly into a buyer's market. But it depends on the property, right? If the property doesn't need any work, then buyers will still overbid. They'll still bid, $25,000, $50,000. I haven't even seen $100,000 over asking. But property that sits on the market that needs a lot of work, I'm seeing them sit for a little bit. So the shift is coming. Very interesting. Very interesting. So how does Liberty National Title stand out from other title companies?
We stand out because we give the consumer the choice, the option. We're the title company that's telling the consumer, here's our fees. We're giving you final fees at accepted offer. We're telling you we're telling the consumer to shop us out, opening that door for them to call another title company to get the final fees and compare them apples to apples. We're giving them not only the savings on the fees, but we're giving them the choice of our title underwriters, the insurance behind our agency. They're able to choose who they want to insure the transaction, where when the attorney orders on their behalf, they don't have that choice. So they feel involved. They feel like they have options, and we hold their hand from the beginning all the way up until the closing table. They're in emails with us, or we're communicating with them, whereas most of my friends who've bought homes and didn't know that they can choose their own title company, they tell me, Patricia, I would have loved to have communication with the title company. We weren't communicating with them from the beginning all the way up until the closing. We thought the title closer was our title company. So they really the consumer that comes with us will most likely refer their family and their friends because of the service that we provided.
That's fantastic. Do you remember any testimonials off the top of your head of what people said?
Yeah, actually, I have a testimonial on my phone that I just posted today.
Really?
Yes.
Cool. Can you read that?
All right.
Where did you post that?
I posted on my LinkedIn page for Liberty National Title. I post all of my my reviews there. It said the title company is by far the best. Patricia and her staff are upfront with all the costs and really take the time to explain the whole process. Their team is so responsive, never leaving you hanging. Thank you for being so helpful. I look forward to more business with you going forward. I just wish I can give you a 10-star review. Go Team Liberty.
That's cool. How come you don't post that on Facebook?
I do. Why aren't you looking at my Facebook?
No, because you said LinkedIn. So I assume that
I'm sorry. It's on all the socials.
Good,
yeah.
good. Smart. Cool. Very good. So I understand now why buyers should contact you, right? Just to protect themselves. What about sellers? Should sellers contact you?
That's a great question. We tell all homeowners title first, right? Title needs to happen first, whether you're buying the house or you're selling the house. Because if we don't have clear title, the property's not closing. So a seller, the first thing they should do is contact the title company. And what we can check for is any mortgages that were paid off and not satisfied off the property, any judgments that are attached to the property that they might not know about. The new ones are red light camera tickets. We can check for property line issues. Sometimes the neighbor moves a fence, or the home that's looking to sell move their fence is over the property line, and that causes an issue as far as having the fence have to be taken down or slightly moved over in order for us to insure the property. And we also will check for any open permits. Most homeowners, they think they have a permit for their pool or a permit for the deck, and they're not sure. So we'll check to make sure that all permits are in place in order for the home to go into a smooth sale.
Okay, cool. Would you limit or stop a sale if for any open permits, or you'll just alert?
Yes, we provide for information purposes only. Title does not insure against open permits.
Okay.
It usually will become a problem for the lender if the buyer has taken out a mortgage. Some lenders require the permits to be closed out, or sometimes the attorney will raise an issue, depending, I guess, on the transaction. But for title, it's never an issue.
Okay, cool. And actually, we work with a lot of attorneys and mortgage companies that don't necessarily care about this. They're okay with open permits and so forth.
Right. So as long as the attorney and the lender are good, then title's good as well.
That's awesome. Cool. Very good. I remember one time one of your webinars a couple months back, and then you were talking about like the cyber crimes, and cyber crimes are so dangerous and scary at the same time, right? And you mentioned something about like a room filled with files. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Yeah. And that's basically what I tell the consumer. I'm protecting them against the cyber crimes in the transaction. So they've been around for a long time, but at the height of them were during COVID, when everything was shut down, nobody was in the offices. And what they were doing was hacking into realtors' email accounts and following the transaction being sent to the attorney. And once they follow the transaction being sent to the attorney, it will then they'll hack into both attorneys' email accounts, sometimes communicating on behalf of the attorney, getting title companies to open up documents. Once the title company opens up the document, they're pretty much in our system, sometimes in our email accounts. Once they get into the seller's attorney's email account, pretty much the crime is done, because they are creating fraudulent payoff letters for any mortgages or judgments, and the title companies rely on those mortgage payoff statements in order to clear title. And title companies are verifying the payoff letters, and what happens is they're not calling the bank, they're calling the cyber criminal, and money was being wired to the cyber criminal. So now buyer owns the property with a mortgage or a lien against the property that should have been paid off at closing. And sometimes what's even more nerve-wracking is these people could have been in this situation and they don't know that they were in the situation until they go to sell the home or refinance. And that's when it comes up that this lien wasn't paid off from their previous closing. So knowing that this was going on, I went into the FBI's office and they showed me files beyond files of Long Island Queens transactions that were hit with cybercrime. Like they could not even get to the point of touching the files because they're just coming in so rapidly.
My goodness, that's
Yes,
scary.
it's very scary.
And then I think you mentioned there was a 4 roomfuls of, and that was just this 1 year, right? Was that the case, or
That was just during COVID.
that was just it's insane.
Yes.
So I know some attorneys still prefer wires. Do you recommend against it?
Absolutely. Yes. It's like, because they're getting better and better each time. Obviously, they commit the crime and then they want to get better the next time so that they'll trick you again. I just think that wiring is, we don't do it here at our office anymore. We let all of our clients know that we will not wire funds. But they managed to now get into the check fraud as well. They're,
Really?
they're taking the account numbers and trying to create duplicate checks and cash the check against the account number. It's just really insane. But I tell all consumers, do not wire. Don't have your down payment wired to the seller's attorney, because there was 2 transactions recently that they lost their down payment because the attorney sent wire instructions to the buyer's attorney, but it wasn't the seller's attorney sending the wire instructions. It was a cyber criminal.
That's insane.
So their down payment went to the cyber criminal.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
that's scary.
Yeah.
So actually, it's through your class, through your webinar that I learned this. So I know for myself, I stopped posting about accepted offers. I remember you telling me that during your seminar, that cyber criminals, once they monitor the realtor's Facebook and social media accounts, and once they see accepted offer, they're going to target that realtor, they're going to target that realtor's attorney and so forth, and try to get that information because that's so valuable.
Right.
So because of your webinar, actually, I learned to not post about social media until after they're cleared and they got the money and everything's,
Yes.
So
Yes.
so
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. You probably saved all my clients, a lot of headache.
And that's something that you should tell your clients. Actually, makes you stand out from the rest. That you're not sharing this information on social media. You're trying to protect their transaction from, these type of incidents. It's very useful information that every consumer wants to know that they're being protected.
Okay. Cool, beautiful. I remember we had a couple transactions together. My most recent one is actually I think John from Howard Beach. Like he loves you guys. You guys, Liberty International Title. He learned so much working with you. I think he called you a bunch of times. And he said you were always there to answer all his questions. So he was very happy with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And, you're amazing. You're an amazing agent to educate your clients to the point that, they're getting everything that they're paying for in the transaction.
Thank you.
So I went door knocking just to find out what was going on.
Yeah.
And, people aren't putting their homes on the market. There's no inventory. So I'm like, I'm a title company. I have a lot of information to share. Mm-hmm. Let me try to go door knocking. So I went door knocking and, and I didn't ask if they're looking to sell their house. And I just said to them, like, what do you think is going on in the market? Why neighbors are not putting their houses on the market? I see there's no houses for sale around here. And they're like, well, let me ask you a question. I own the house outright, right? Mm-hmm. If I sell my house, I have to move.
Yep.
And if I move, I'm paying, probably double what my house is worth, which means I have to take out a mortgage. So do you think I should take out a mortgage for 7% rate in this market and overpriced for a home and pay overpriced for a home? That's what a lot of the homeowners were telling me. Or some of them were like, we just don't know where to go.
Yeah. That's the thing. And inventory is at an all-time low, right? So normally there's 900,000 to 1 million homes on sale every month across the U.S. Right now, I think it's around 300,000 to 400,000 homes across the entire U.S. So Inventory is extremely low. But as mentioned earlier, if the house doesn't need any work, it's still going to go for top dollar. It's going to go for over asking. But yeah, inventories are extremely low. Sellers don't know where to go. A lot of my sellers, they're going, out of New York, right? They're going to Florida, going to Georgia, North Carolina. They're still like, reasonable homes for reasonable prices. They got, really good homes. For Queens and Long Island, you need, at least at minimum 800, for a nice size home,
Right.
And some of them you need probably over $1 million, right, for good school districts and so forth. It's insane.
It is.
It is insane.
Are you hearing like when this is going to turn? Like, are they predicting when we're going to come out of this?
If I knew when it's going to turn, I would be a very rich man. But yeah, I don't know for sure. Everyone has their own predictions, but no one knows for sure.
Right.
So let's just say the seller has a death in the family. How does that affect title?
Yeah. Well, if somebody that's on title has passed away, that could affect the title in that, there could be some something attaching to the property against the person that passed away,
Okay.
right? And now that they don't own the house anymore because they're gone, but yet the lien could still be there. So we have to check to make sure that if there was any money that was needed to be paid up from the person that passed away, that it didn't attach to the home. So a lot of times we have homeowners reaching out to us when there's a death involved just to make sure that everything's okay. Or the divorce. Sometimes divorce, they get nasty and, a lien gets attached to the home because the divorce is not finalized yet. So we check to make sure that everything's okay through the divorce. We had a situation where the son was living in the home, same name as the father. Son is not on title, but multiple liens against his home that attached to the property.
Really?
And same name as his father. So in title, we assume that that's the father. You got to pay the liens. So we were able to get the social security number from the son to prove that it wasn't the father in order to close. But it did become an issue because the father and son are no longer talking anymore, and the son didn't want to give up his social security number, and just made it difficult.
Can I ask, was that like a junior and senior like title thing, or that was just a complete different first name too?
No, it was a junior and a senior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Wow. You were mentioning something about the death in the family. So going back into that. So I understand like probate process usually lasts, 6 months. It takes 6 months for the court to clear everything. So on top of that, you're recommending that the sellers or the people who are inheriting that property also run title just to make sure that this property is clear and free as well?
Yeah, of course, because there could have been issues against the property before the death that happened, and we got to clear up those issues that happened before the death happened.
Okay.
So we always just like to make sure that everything's okay.
Okay.
Also, when the last man standing passes away on the property, husband and wife own the property. Husband's passed on, wife still owns it, and then now the wife passed on, and the property gets passed along to the children. We always like to make sure that, who's the executor of the estate? Are they still alive? Is their administrative paperwork still valid, or is it expired? Like, all of this runs into title issues, title delays. Like, the sooner we know, the better off it is. So I always tell homeowners when there's a death involved, like, call title right away and let's just try to figure things out so that we don't run to issue when they go do sell the house.
Mm-hmm. Patricia, tell me about deed fraud. I've been hearing about it, and it's just scary.
It is. It's very scary. So what happens is cybercriminal, they prey on the elderly. They prey on homes that are paid off, meaning there's no mortgages against the property. They prey on vacant homes with, they know that the seller has moved on and the house is just sitting there vacant, or they're trying to sell it for a long period of time. And what they do is they create a deed. They forge the homeowner's name on the deed. They get a notary, probably part of the crime, to notarize the deed. They then bring the deed to the county for recording, and now they own the property. And now the reason why they go off after the properties with no mortgages against it is because now that they own the property, they can take a mortgage against it. So they own the property, they take a mortgage against the property, and the actual homeowner has no idea.
Oh my God!
Unfortunately,
that's
and the one incident that just came up was a property in East Meadow. The homeowner called me off of one of my ads. I run a lot of Google ads telling the homeowner to call title first. They said, I'm looking to sell the house. Can you pull title? We found out, unfortunately, their deed was stolen and there's a mortgage against the property. So now what happens in that case? The value of title insurance. They now file a claim against their title insurance policy, and the title underwriter will now represent them. And they're going to have to overturn that deed and prove fraud, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. And no homeowner wants to go through that, especially if they are looking to sell now. So when I teach classes about this to the consumer, I tell them, just, the county has now some websites that you can register on, that you can put your property address in, and they could send you an alert if there's been something recorded against the property. I know that Nassau County does.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think Suffolk County has now started that as well. Or you could just call any title company and ask them to run the deed if you're suspicious of something, to make sure that there's no issues going on. And the more that we're aware of it happening, I think the better off we'll all be.
Yes, definitely. It brings back to memory. There was like a case where there was deed fraud, and I remember like what they did was they did the deed fraud, then they evicted the owner, the real owner of that property, and then so she lost her house. I mean, finally she had to sue, get that property back, but it I think like 6 or 9 months of headaches for her, and it was like an elderly woman. I think she was just like living on her pension. It was like a poor thing. And it's just very traumatic for her. It was so sad.
Yeah, we had a situation recently, not us, thankfully. The New York State Title Land Association alerted all title companies that a buyer purchased the property here locally in Nassau County, and it was sold to them by the criminal.
Really?
Yeah. So they went to move in the property, and I think within a week time, they had to leave, because the current homeowner found out that the property was sold from underneath them, and it's crazy.
That's insane.
These poor buyers hired a moving truck to move into the property that they don't own. It's horrible.
Holy God, that's insane.
Yes.
It's like, wow. So then so it all boils down that if they contact you at Liberty National Title, you would have vetted everything, right? So you would have been able to protect and see if there's anything strange.
Yes, because title happening at the end of the transaction, it's too late. We're finding out all these issues that we should have known about initially from the beginning, when you listed the property or when you make an offer on the property. Make sure that the homeowner is actually the homeowner and not a cyber criminal.
Yes.
So the only way to go about doing that is by contacting title to run the deed against the property and check the property out, make sure there's no other issues.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Learned something new. Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So tell me, 2024, I hear you're going to be the new president of the Women's Council of Realtors.
Can you believe it? I can't believe it myself. Yes. I've been involved with Women's Council for a long time. Anybody that doesn't know what Women's Council of Realtors is we're a non-for-profit. It's a national network. So we have networks all over in every state. And we're men and women. And we just come together, and a lot of networking functions. There's a Radius page, kind of like the Facebook of Women's Council, where you network nationally with Women's Council members for leads, referrals. It's a great place to be, especially if you're dealing with another Women's Council member on the other end of the deal.
Cool.
And it's like family. Yeah. So I'm taking the president position 24, and I plan to grow membership and take Women's Council to a place it's never been before.
Cool. Anything that you want to change aside from adding new people, and what do you want to change? What's your biggest goal for Women's Council this
Great
year?
question. To grow membership really is focusing on members and what they need and what they want, and setting my calendar up for 24 according to what the members want and need. To grow the strategic partners, lenders, attorneys. My goal for 24 is to bring in the medical field. We've always had real estate partners, and now I want to try to bring in the medical field. And one of my events that I have planned for 24 is Your Health is Your Wealth.
Okay.
And I want to do breakout rooms of the medical field, and agents all need the medical field.
Amen.
Especially in this market.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Oh, that's fantastic. And you said men and women, so I got to join. I didn't know that.
I'm looking forward to having you join.
Cool. Patricia, thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Cool. So refresh our memory. So can we find you?
631-923-2957, team@libertytitlecorp.com.
Great.
What about you? How do we find you?
Oh, they'll find me. Yeah. So Steve Cheng team, 646-206-1304, or look at the bubble down there.